Hi everyone. I'm going to present you the EFIL Advocacy environment, meaning the environment that the actors that EFIL works with and within in order to pursue its advocacy efforts. So first of all, there's institutions we are working with. You can see United Nations, European Union, and Council of Europe. Let's look at the European Union more closely. The European Union was born after the Second World War to create a common market, and it was believed that a common market would have brought to a peaceful Europe with human dignity, freedom, democracy, equality, rule of law, human rights, and social justice and protection. It has now 28 countries. If you want to know more, there is a web address here. And you can also look at a video more closely. The European Union deals with very many topics of policy. As EFIL, we focus on few ones. One is the visa and residence permit policy. One is the intercultural dialogue, and particularly now the Paris Declaration on promoting citizenship that has been released in March 2015 following the terrorist attacks in Paris to Charlie Hebdo. Also, we are focusing on youth policy and education and training policy. Regarding youth policy, we are focusing on the Erasmus Plus program mostly, and in the education and training policy, we're focusing on individual pupil mobility, the old Comenius program, but also I would say on key competencies and the school education systems that are promoted within Europe, also teachers training, for example. What is interesting is that within the youth policy, there's a system of consulting young people on what you should do for young people, and that's the youth structure dialogue with young people. And EFIL has a permanent representative that is attending the meeting of the youth structure dialogue, and it's Alexandra Ruivo Cordeiro from AFS Portugal. We also have the Council of Europe. The Council of Europe is different from the European Union. The Council of Europe promotes human rights, democracy, and rule of law. It was also born just after the Second World War, but before the European Union. And it has 47 countries, so many more compared to the European Union. It includes Russia, Turkey, and the Caucasus, so on. Here you can watch a video to know more about it. The Council of Europe has a system to consult with civil society. It's called the INGO Conference, the International Non-Governmental Organization Conference. And has EFIL as participatory status there and a permanent representative, and that's Victoria Bedo from AFS France/Hungary. The Council of Europe has a very well-developed youth sector that we cooperate with. It has a North-South center based in Lisbon, focused on Africa-Europe youth cooperation, and organizes the University of Youth and Development, where EFIL takes part, so-called Molina and Hammamet in Tunisia. It has also a foundation, the European Youth Foundation, that is providing funds to youth organizations. EFIL has always been applying to it, always with successful funding. And we usually, since 3 years, have a funding line called Work Plan that allows us to run a series of activities under a topic. And for example, the topic of 2016 is building peaceful societies. Last year it has been active citizenship, and the year before diversity. We've heard that for the European Union there's a system for consulting young people, the structure dialogue. The Council of Europe is also one, which is actually much better and comes from a longer period back in history, and it's the co-management, the Advisory Council on Youth, where 30 representatives of young people from all over Europe decide on youth policy together with the representative of the ministries of youth policy of the 47 countries of the Council of Europe. And we are glad that for the period 2016-2017, EFIL has a representative there, Charlotte Clinting from AFS Denmark. You might wonder, the Council of Europe and the European Union are doing very similar things in the field of youth policy. So they should maybe talk to each other. Yes, they do. It's through the EU-COE Youth Partnership and the focus on the cooperation between the two institutions and especially on recognition on informal learning, cooperation in Euromed, Euro-Africa and Eastern Europe and Caucasus, and knowledge-based youth policy. We have a pool of researchers and a knowledge center on youth policy. It's not only the European institutions we're working with, we're also partly working with the United Nations in cooperation with AFS intercultural programs. United Nations, you might know, they promote international peace and security, human rights, humanitarian affairs, development, and international law. They are made of 193 countries. And what specifically EFIL is doing together with AFS intercultural programs is cooperating on the topic of sustainable development goals and the goal for education and global citizenship education. We can do it only thanks to the fact that AFS International has a consultative status at UNESCO and very good relations with the Alliance of Civilizations. These are the institutions, and now you might wonder how EFIL can actually have relations with them. One way is through this permanent representative that we talked to you about, one through the structured dialogue with young people at the European Union, two with the Council of Europe, INGO conference, and the Advisory Council on Youth, and through attending some events of the United Nations after agreeing with AFS intercultural programs. But that's not only sending representatives to events or meetings of the institutions that we can really do advocacy. Only having a stronger voice together with other organizations allow us to get results. And that's our part of platforms. So we're part of the European Youth Forum, also called YFJ. And EFIL has a permanent representative there, Alexandra Sintil from AFS Germany. The Youth Forum has 100 members that are divided in two categories, international NGOs, that are also called IWA NGOs, and national youth councils, NYCs. So if you might wonder what the difference is between the two, is that National Youth Council represent youth organizations, young people from a specific country. So they are a network of local, national youth organizations, while international NGOs are organizations that are like EFIL. They are international, they have members from all over the world, all over Europe, and they are brought together for a mission. So also, for example, the Scouts are IWA NGO. What is the Youth Forum focusing on? On youth participation, strong youth organization, and autonomy and inclusion. What is interesting for us is participation of young people in decision making, funding, recognition of youth work and non-formal education, and youth mobility, anti-discrimination, and access to education. These three topics have been chosen by the members to be the pillars of the strategic plan that is a long-term strategic plan lasting for 7 years. The Youth Forum lobbies towards the European Union, the Council of Europe, and the United Nations. We are also part of the Lifelong Learning Platform that was before called UCIS LLL. It has 39 members. It's a growing network. It was founded more recently than the Youth Forum. The Youth Forum is now 20 years old, while the Lifelong Learning Platform is 10 years old. It focuses on all parts of education: informal learning, non-formal education, formal education, and within formal education, all it's all the ages of people. The advocacy objectives of the platform is the validation of non-formal and informal learning, meaning that what we learn outside of formal education, outside of school, is in a way or the other recognized by employers and by society. Transversal competencies, like also intercultural competencies, the civil society participation to policy making, lifelong learning, active citizenship, social inclusion, and funding for education. They lobby towards the European Union only. You might want to know that EFIL has also been part of other platforms in the past that do not exist anymore. One is the EU Civil Society Platform on Multilingualism. The other is the European Platform for Intercultural Europe that was born in 2008, the year of intercultural dialogue, and the European Alliance for Volunteering that was born out of the year of volunteering in 2011. You can learn more about these platforms searching on Google and on EFIL website. We don't only work with institutions and platforms, but also with partners. Partners are those organizations that we're working with for advocacy that are not necessarily a platform, but are very important stakeholders that only with them we're able to actually advocate successfully. We have the Exchange Organizations Group. It's an informal group of organizations within the European Youth Forum that deal with exchanges. It's AEG, the European Students Forum, YEU, Youth for Exchange and Understanding, Tripoli YFU, which is the umbrella or European umbrella organization of YFU organization, Youth for Understanding, ESN, the Erasmus Student Network, SCI, Service Civil International, they're a volunteering organization, and Alliance, also a volunteering organization. We're also cooperating with TEO, which is the youth organization of Esperantists, and YEN, the Youth for European Nationalities. We are meeting more or less every 2 months in Brussels, and also organizations that are not Brussels-based join on Skype, and we discuss the items that are on the agenda of the Youth Forum. And since many of these organizations are also part of the Lifelong Learning Platform, we often also discuss those. We are also part of the national platforms of exchange organizations, meaning that once every year, there is a meeting between EFIL, Tripoli YFU, and platforms that exist at national level of organizations dealing with exchanges, especially pupil exchanges. There's only 2 in Europe, AYA in Germany and Intermundo in Switzerland. Also, we cooperate with the European Platform for Learning Mobility, which is actually which has been created and is coordinated by the youth partnership between the Council of Europe and the European Union, and I talked to you about before. And they have a conference every 2 years. We are also now members of KeyCoNet, which is the Key Competencies Network on School Education, where we advocate for the recognition of the year abroad done within a secondary school exchange program. And we also advocate for the value of the competencies that students learn during this year abroad that are the key competencies. So this is the EFIL advocacy environment. If you have any questions, feel free to address them. Bye.